Hi everyone and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, and the topic for the day is called 180 Sky Flight. It's going to be a collection of images and sky observations happening mostly in December 2022, but there are also going to be some mixed in from January and even February, coming mostly from Miami, but we're also going to do a nice little feature on some exciting photos coming in from EK out of Tennessee, looking at the Tennessee skies, so at daytime and at nighttime, toward evening. So we'll get into that soon. In the meantime, if you look at the cover here, I am showing one UFO that was captured moving around, oddly so, by the afternoon sun. I have the video version of this in my YouTube Shorts number 139, UFO This Morning, with exclamation points. That's the title of it. So I invite you to go check out that YouTube Shorts just so you can see the video capture. This thing moves in a really odd way when you look at that video. In this show, however, I'm just going to be showing stills and enhancements of those stills. So anyway, let's jump into the show. We are going to start off with, these are just screenshots taken from the YouTube Shorts for now, and the sky would be blue. This has already been enhanced. Now I'm going to show photos that are going to say either original for obvious reasons or enhanced. Enhanced simply means that I've taken the photo and only upped or lowered the levels of attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, and contrast, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes maybe a little with the sharpness, but that's really the only tools needed to really pull some interesting things out of each photo. In this case, 8.1 is referring to this, and we jump to 8.2 is just zooming in, and 8.3 is zooming in even more and trying to get at what is this thing. And again, in the actual video, you'll see it flies up in a weird way, hesitates, and flies back down. It's just really bizarre. And I wouldn't have seen it at all if I didn't go ahead and apply some editing to the attributes, doing some enhancements of the video itself, and then it really popped out. All right, so we're going to move along. So we're going to zoom in one more time on this thing. So look how linear it is. It almost looks like a pencil. Has a little bit of a indentation, looks like a ring around this thing, and it comes to a point. You know what? It actually reminds me of those plastic styluses that they used to accompany these little things when I was little. It was a little board, and it had a piece of film on it, and you would take this just plastic stylus, and you would write on top of the plastic. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. It was like a gray film on top of a black board, and you would etch things and make little drawings, and then if you didn't like it, you just lifted the film up and erased it and started all over again. This is what this reminds me of, the shape of. They used to be red and plastic. They had little grooves coming down the sides, little capped end there and a point on it. It really reminds me exactly of that. Yeah, my apologies for anybody who's cringing out there. If you know the name of those little magic boards, whatever they were called, I'm not talking about Etch-a-Sketch. It was just something that was, like a little clipboard, and you just lifted the film up and down. I'll look it up later, and maybe I'll clarify in my community page. Anyway, that's what it reminds me of, but this can in no way, shape, or form be mistaken for anything organic like a bird or an insect. This is an object, and it even has, strange shadowing or like force field around it. So anyway, we're going to keep going on. This is with extreme enhancement, just to show we are dealing with an object, because look how linear that is, how engineered, really. It's straight lines and curves. So it looks very machined, and then what's interesting is how everything else takes on different color signatures around it, but it remains white and true. All right, so anyway, we're going to move on. This is a slightly different moment catching it. So it was on angle one way here, and then it leveled out this way. So B.2, we're going to zoom in. This one's going to be a little bit more fuzzy, but it's some interesting things show up in this one. So we're still seeing the shape of this thing, extremely linear. Now in this particular view, though, it gets very interesting because this is symmetrical. There's an angle up here, an angle to a point, and another symmetrical angle back up, and then back this way again. So I don't know, are we catching the front of this thing now, and that comes down to a point, or the back of it? Who knows? But it's symmetrical. It's got sharp, straight edges. And so we know this is some type of engineered element. Here now we're coming in, zooming in, and it's going to be fuzzy. But again, we see straight line coming to this weird point. That looks so perfectly machined. And then now it like hooks back up. So it's just too perfect to be, anything kind of more fluttery, let's just say, like birds' wings and all of that. It's an object. It's a machined object. So I'm calling it a cloak and craft. Also, when you look at the movement in the video, you can see, nothing is going to move like that unless it's some type of craft. Okay, so now we're going to come to a segment of this show. Oh, and I want to start off by saying, I should have started off earlier saying welcome to everyone. Whether you're new here on the channel or coming back, thank you so much. And it's become an unwanted tradition lately. It turns out that I'm always recording these things super late at night. So pardon my, let's say, my speech pattern, my inability to think of things. It's all stemming from I'm just really tired, but I still want to get these shows out. So let that not diminish the good intent behind these shows and wanting to share this with all of you. So thank you for being here and sticking through it all if you can make it to the end of the show. If not, just make it as long as you can. I appreciate you being here. All right, so anyway, I want to come to this exciting little segment of the show. I did previously call out that if anybody had photos they wanted to submit of anything that they didn't mind freely sharing with everyone, maybe some sky things that the photos you might have taken that kind of always nagged at you, like you knew something more was going on but didn't know quite what. And I just made a little offer to go ahead and do my typical analysis on such photos. So we have EK in Tennessee sent some very intriguing photos. And actually, EK did do an enhancement on one of them. And then I've also taken them even further and pushed them as far as I could go on the enhancements to pull out however much detail possible. Now, what was really funny in communicating with EK, and again, many thanks to you, EK, out there, for submitting these great photos. So I communicated to EK, hey, what's going on over here with these white, specks and orbs and things? Are they some kind of phenomenon? They don't look like water droplets on the lens or anything. And EK laughed and wrote back and said, no, those are stars. So I had to laugh because where I'm at in Miami, the skies are so filled with particulate that we never get such beautiful, clear views of the stars. If we do, they're pretty faint. Also, maybe just the latitude, they don't come in as strong, but whatever the case, I had to laugh because, no, they're not a phenomenon. They're not orbs. They're nothing more than actual stars, supposedly. So anyway, that was really funny. However, so this is looking southeast in the skies of Tennessee on February 20th, 2023, toward a little after 8 p.m. So what EK noted was that these were really the only distinct clouds in the sky. I mean, there's some little things coming, more muted, I guess, what do I want to say, kind of more diffuse things happening in the background. But EK said that these were the two, just like kind of two notable things hanging out in that sky. So you better believe we're going to look at them already. I see some indentation, symmetrical, circles here. This is just a really sharp U on a stick. Again, one of my previous shows, this looked like something trailing behind one of the craft. It was like, like a tuning fork almost. Already down at B, letter B, I can see a triangular form. So you better believe we're going to be looking in at these in more detail, zooming in and putting more enhancement on the photo. So here's the, I believe this one, hang on one second, yeah. EK had already done an enhancement, and I think I just pushed it a little bit more just to really bring out more contrast and things. So look at this. We have two perfect holes. It almost looks like the holes on a button you would go sew through here with thread. But what's interesting is this now just some technological object, an engineered object, or are we even looking at it like a bioorganism, some kind of organism? Because as we look in some of the photos, it's a little bit, I'm a little on the fence with it, because if you look at this as a face and these as little eyes and hands and something kind of shooting out of there, I could see that almost this is like a little skinny body, and these are the legs and the back. I still do think it's tech, maybe has some bioorganism kind of traits to it, characteristics. But anyway, we'll get into this a little bit more. But what's interesting is, though, that it definitely looks like something that's been engineered because of this, again, perfect symmetrical element where we have, if you follow my cursor, this and this, it's like a perfect U, a curve, and there's some weird little thing dangling on the back. We're going to zoom in on that, and look at this thing springing up off of this. There's like a little projectile. And down here too, there's some mysterious things happening. So we're going to take a extra look. And so here we go, working with, again, upping and lowering some of the attributes in the photo to pull out things. So it's important to pay attention to the color signatures. So we have, everything that seems similar has turned yellow. And then the things on the fringe, don't turn yellow, and they're kind of doing their own thing. Here's that little object that was springing up. It's looking more and more like a specific object. And then down here too, again, something very odd is happening in that section, and we're going to keep zooming in. So here's where I said it almost looks like a little face. I mean, this really looks like an eye, here and here, where this would be the head and this is the face, and that would be an arm shooting something off, and another arm maybe making a fist, and again the waist and like the legs trailing behind the hips. But I still do think it's a craft. Anyway, we have distinct objects happening in here, different shapes, and something weird here too, almost looks like a hole. And again, this is something else happening here, and here along the little fringe elements. So we'll get into that a little bit more. Now I blew out the brightness intentionally because over here we have the question marks. Look at it. Something is flying off of here. It's shooting off, but then making a huge U-turn really quick, springing around this way. Almost looks like there's a hole at the end of this thing. Weird little squiggly things, coming off this thing all over the place. And again, this looks like a definite object springing off. So whether that's another craft, a mini craft coming off another craft, or is it some type of sensor, instrument, object, that gets ejected out into the atmosphere? I don't know. Whatever the case, this overall thing is really bizarre and is not in any case a natural cloud. Now with more enhancement in a slightly different direction, look what we get. And look at, this is all blue tones of whatever is shooting off out this way. Again, look at the perfection of the symmetry of this. Now we really get into it. We see it's not just a little hook or horseshoe now. Look at this. It's faceted, and that's a sharp angle and edge here, and it's symmetrical. This whole thing is symmetrical with sharp facets. And so, of course, that's an engineered object. There's no other way around it. And what all is going on in here is still pretty darn mysterious. I'll leave this one up to you to kind of take a look at. But what I think, that object that was shooting up here, I think we distilled it down to its essence. And these look like tubes. Look at, they're parallel, and it looks like there's a hole at the end of this one, like a little pipe. So a lot of times when we start seeing those, it looks like the same thing here too. That's probably a hole, and maybe over here. That tells me that I think that's the mechanisms of how these things are generating their own cloaking. So I think a lot of the vapor and a lot of what I call plasma, meaning the cloaking material, meaning something that's heavier and denser than just cloud material, water vapor, and it just kind of sticks and kind of clings to some of these objects. I think that's what's going on. Or they, leave a little vapor trail out of these things. Anyway, let's continue on this very intriguing image, see what you can see in here. As well, and if you see anything really interesting, as always, even if I don't cover it, feel free to leave your impressions in the comment section below. All right, now we're going down to that triangular element. The piece that we just looked at now in more detail is in the upper left of this thing, and this thing's in the lower right-hand corner. So again, just a lot of weird little things happening here. We zoom in on this piece. Not only do we see this standalone triangle, elongated triangular form, now there's this weird spherical thing with, again, two pipe holes. If you follow my cursor here and here, there's like a little a jet, sticking out, a little cylinder with a hole at each end. So what the heck are we dealing with? There's also something kind of suspect right here that could be an opening. Looks like the very end edge of a pipe as well, kind of a weird shaped one, cross section of it. So see what you can find in here. This also looks like we're dealing with like a ball or sphere with a really rough texture going on around it. So it's mystifying. It's definitely an anomaly. There's a lot of really strange stuff going on in this scene. See what you can see. Oh, and over here too, sorry, worth noting, where my cursor is over here behind these branches, around the perimeter of this thing, we've got, yes, we've got the yellow, but then we see little things with structure, here and there, these little nooks and crannies. And over here it starts to go green in color, and again, it's the end of a little pipe little jet or something. And all over here we've got a green signature clinging to this thing. So it tells me yet again something else is happening within this overall cloaking mass. So I think there's multiple cloaking craft going on in here. I do think this is an outlet, so either this can eject things, or maybe, again, that's where the cloaking material blows out of and builds up into a bigger thing. See what you think. We're going to zoom. Oh, I didn't realize we're going to zoom in one more time on this. This is just part of the tree over here where my cursor is. Okay, so again, it looks like the end of a cylinder, even within this opening, is popping out. At least that's what it looks like to me. And again, what are these weird little things happening above the triangle and down, below it? See what you see. All right, now we're still talking Tennessee skies. Thanks again, EK. We're going to look at a few more photos coming from EK. Now this is on a different day. This is March 8th, 2023, looking east in the morning now, this time at 8:36 a.m. Now what's interesting here is how well camouflaged this thing is. So I tried to get at the best that I could to get the clarity in this. And EK, I'm talking to you too. I really tried to pull out clear things, but this was so well camouflaged. So I'll show you what I got. I was hoping for a little bit more, but maybe it'll be enough. So we're just going to look at the areas of A, B, and C on this one. Already we just see this looks rather unusual with a really straight-edged item here. So let's keep going. So with enhancement, I'm not going to really talk about 8.1. Feel free to have a look there on your own time. I just saw some kind of triangular elements popping up in there. But anyway, we're going to look more at B and C. So I really tried to get at it, but it was really, for lack of a better word, kind of murky, intentionally murky. I think this thing just did not want to be detected. I talk about other cloaking craft doing sloppy cloaking. It's like they really want you to see the different parts. This one, it just looks like, nope, denied as far as getting to real sharp clarity here. But we do see enough to say that, hey, this is not a natural cloud. There's something cloaking in here. So look at this again. We've got this sharp edge here, another sharp edge here, very engineered. We got a block, it's a rectangle. And then here, this almost looks like fingers coming out. It's really weird. Has a real dinosaur feel to it. It has like a real clunky, clumsy T-Rex feel almost, like if that's a blocky, chunky head, but with like a snake-like body and these, like fingers coming out. Whatever the case, this is totally enigma to me. I couldn't get at much more. So really all I can emphasize is that these are straight lines that don't happen with natural clouds. So let's see. I moved in further, really tried to get at anything that I could, and the only thing that really comes out in addition to this being like a very rectilinear shape is down here we've got a triangular shape. And let me go back one. We only start to see this triangle hanging down here. Well, with a little more enhancement, you can see that we're only catching the tip of that triangular form. It actually passes down through whatever this is at C.3, and it continues on, but it still maintains the overall shape of a bigger, darker triangular form. Now what's interesting here is look at all the color signature and changes. So where we've got the green is interesting. It's like riding on this like subcloud of green below it that's also hiding this, black triangular form. So there's a lot going on in here. But unfortunately, I only get enough glimpses to know, again, that it's not a natural cloud, but not enough to know what the heck is this thing, what's going on. We also over here have very straight elements. So again, that tells me that's like companion cloaking craft happening in and around the area, because that's nothing natural. So let's, and down here too, these little curves, let me see if it was, no, I think they come up again, but all of these little, curves are all parallel, like concentric curves. So again, this is some part of an element, I would say, of an overall bigger craft, and we're just seeing the very tips of those features poking out of this heavy, heavy cloaking material, is my guess. Now we're going to go in on this, right here, this upper edge, that really straight line, and here we go. I really can't pull much more out of it than that, but I do see, again, a little pipe with a hole at the end. Another one here with a hole at the end. So once again, I just do believe that those are little mechanisms to pump out the cloaking material, is my best guess. All right, now we're going to look at that triangle at the bottom. And once again, we see that dark, dark part of it at the top. Looks like it's docked onto an arm, like this is a bigger craft above. and this is some kind of element or craft hanging onto it, docked from below, kind of like I say it before in other shows. It's kind of like a shark and a remora hanging off of it, at the bottom. And then this one, again, we see that darker shadow below. In this case, it's more blue, but it looks like this belongs, to a bigger triangular form. And here those little concentric, they're not fingers, they're just, little pieces all in a row. And again, I think that's just part of a bigger craft that we just happen to see this piece popping out of the cloaking material. And again, down here along this fringe of whatever this is, I see these little sticks, with possibly little holes at the ends. And again, I'm going to maintain that perhaps that shoots out the cloaking material. All right, now we're going to move on. Still talking Tennessee skies, another photo in from EK in Tennessee. And here we're looking east, 9:08 in the morning on March 8th. Now, this is interesting how this thing is backlit. So I thought, okay, well, let's see what we can find in here. Let's see what's going on. So it's interesting because it's a little harder to tell what might be going on in here. But once we get to this, it's still not that much easier. But look here where my cursor is. This element and this element are parallel. Again, they're little sticks, and it might be easier to see in other views coming up. But anyway, when I see parallel sticks, that tells me there's engineered elements. And again, it looks like they have the holes, at the bottoms. So you better believe I'm going to be looking at this element. We have little pipes and pieces all over the place on this thing. It might be a little harder to see. This is one of those that's not as clear when we get to the enhancements. But let's see what else we can see here. This is also a little weird kind of ring-like element. C.1 is just kind of strange that it's going, straight level, while all of this is kind of splayed out. And once again, it's all choppy and fuzzy in here, intentionally so, which I like to call like staccato cloud effect, that even to the naked eye, things seem choppy and blurry. It's not the camera. Oh, we're going to come here. I'm just going to target in on D1, although they're weird things if you look at 8.1. Look at it. It looks like a perfect J or like a snorkel. Really weird. Again, this is coming now across perpendicular, which doesn't happen with natural clouds. And that's the end of a pipe once again. This is just crazy. So anyway, let's look at D.1. Calling it D.2 now that we're zooming in. And it's kind of really still hard to see what's going on. Although here, if you follow my cursor, this thing is a perfect curve with a weird thing at the end of it. It's like a mushroom with an elongated stem. And there are other weird little elements all over this thing. So this isn't one of those, okay, yeah, we got it. It's a clear evidence of a cloaking craft. But I just know after, looking at this for many years in detail, these do exhibit traits of having stuff around the perimeter that are engineered objects and elements to call it a cloaking craft or object. All right, we're going to zoom in on just that piece, here. And if you follow my cursor, again, it's a little fuzzy and bitmappy if you have this on a bigger screen, like a laptop screen or bigger. But on your handheld device or like more of a thumbnail size, this will be clearer. But if you follow my cursor here, we have this curved element. This is what I was calling like the top of a mushroom with an elongated stem. And we just have strange little, look like clearer, straighter edged elements with a lot of cloaking material. I say wafting, not wafting over it. What's interesting on this thing also is the overall color signatures. We have, brighter cyan, darker indigo navies, but also all this like green stuff. So when there's a whole lot of different signatures, color signatures around an object too, that tells me more than likely we're dealing with a cloaking craft or object as well. All right, we're going to move on. That one was a tough one. Now here's another view coming in, looking to the northeast on March 7th at 9:26 p.m. Did I get that right? I think it is. Wait a minute, this might be a.m. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll have to double check it. I think it is p.m. But anyway, here we have another view. We're just going to try to see what we might be able to find. Of course, already this like reflection looks really wild. But when I put enhancement on it, it was really hard to get at again. The way this particulate is, looked like extra heavy duty cloaking that I haven't quite run into before. So the interesting thing on this though is the color signatures. We get some weird reddish, tinged things happening all around the perimeter. Just really strange. And then we've got this burst of cyan. It's almost like we have so many layers of particulate and veiling, it's just really hard to get at what's really going on in this picture. So unfortunately, I just say unfortunately because I really hope to pull out more on some of these. I only got to see some really more high strangeness happening up here at the perimeter. Like already this looks like a ring with two, symmetrical like antenna, and other little weird things kind of popping off here at the top. So that's what we're going to look at. And so when we just look at A2 and B2 again, that was that weird ring-like thing with the two antenna I was saying. So this looks like a standalone object here, cloaking and maybe, docking onto whatever's happening with this, all of this yellow stuff. And then we look over here and there's just like weird little objects that don't really fit any kind of, they really shouldn't be there in a natural cloud-filled sky. So there's just really oddities in this one. I can't really explain exactly what's going on here. These might be triangular forms at the perimeter kind of flying off out of here. It's hard to say. But we're going to zoom in again, that little ring-like thing with, I was saying, the two little antenna things. Something strange is happening here. But once again, I can't quite get a handle on this one, other than to show you some high strangeness with it. So again, look at these pieces. They've got straight edges, and these would not be natural cloud, formations, and they wouldn't be aligned or arrayed in this way. I think this is part of a bigger object that's cloaking in a different way beyond. Oh, and sometimes you'll see these kind of stray letters. I just forgot to erase them. I just copy and paste and bring in photos, and sometimes I forget to get some of those out of here. Anyway, really bizarre scene. See if you can see something in here. It was really hard for me. This one really challenged me this time around. All right, now we're going to leave Tennessee. So again, thank you, EK, for sharing with all of us your views in the Tennessee skies this time around. Now we're going to hop into Miami, and this is going to be me catching up the tail end of November 2022, and I'm going to move on into to finish out and close out on December. And then I'm just playing incredible catch up on a lot of backlog of photos that I have. So I just need to catch up on the next couple months, and then hopefully we can keep going from there. But anyway, so we're going to go back to the past a little bit. And this is looking west toward the evening. And this just looked really strange, this formation of a quote-unquote cloud. I started to get that staccato, blurry, fuzzy cloud effect to the naked eye. So already I was like, okay, we're dealing with something. It was also incredibly low in altitude, like way too low in altitude. And so here we are on the right-hand side is the Hans version. And again, it's choppy and fuzzy, but it's telling me enough that the darkest part is the object, and then the indigo and then the magenta are all kind of the cloaking material hugging around it. So then we get a really bright white point here at C.1. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. And that's always interesting too, because it's either, excuse me, something is reflecting on here, or sometimes it's just out and out some type of piece of the craft or object that's poking out. So let's continue on. I'm zooming in. So see what I mean? That C.2 is really standalone. It's its own element here. And then we have the darker object, beyond. Now, is this one singular craft with like two pontoon things or wing things on the side with one like controlling element in the middle, bridging them? Or is this three separate cloaking craft? Hard to say. See what you think is going on in here. All right, now we're going to look at east. East at 6:52, that should be a.m., not a.n., but on November 28th. And this is also appears in a shorts, and I don't have the number in front of me, but the music is by Otis Redding, sitting on the dock of the bay. But anyway, this stayed in the eastern sky for a very long time. It actually reminded me of a craft that did that in July last year. And it started forming into a very clear cloaking craft with a very distinct shuttle-type shape. This really reminded me of that. So we've got, look at these elements at sea. We've got 1, 2, 3, they're all parallel. And then we have something weird happening here with very straight lines. But it looks like, like someone just did a ghost faint outline, of a craft forming. So with enhancement, maybe you can see a little better what I'm talking about. I mean, this is not a natural cloud. It does have structure to it. And it looks like we're seeing some parts that kind of popped out, emerged more in our world. And then the rest here, these little dots, is kind of remaining like invisibility cloaked. It's really bizarre. And with another type of enhancement, we see that, still this is an object in its own right. And again, I would venture to say that this is the front of it, maybe. The more I think about it, this looks like the tip or the bow of it, and that would be the stern. I guess potentially you could flip it around the other way, where that's the tail end and that's the front. Whatever the case, it's odd. See what you see in here? It's weird, too, is this thing, again, has that elongated U. It's perfect U. There's a straight leg of it here, or prong, parallel with this piece. It looks like it's holding something. But anyway, see what you see in this scene. It's really weird. All right, speaking of really weird, looking west toward the afternoon on November 28th. This whole scene I also included in the shorts, and to me, it looks like it has the feel of a prehistoric shoebill bird or stork. I forget. I think it's called it's a shoebill. I think it's a stork. Look that up if you're not familiar with it. Oh my gosh, the face, it looks like this. The way the beak is wide and the head is flat. But anyway, it just reminded me of some kind of prehistoric shoebill, where that would be the beak and then the body, and it's like perched on something and the wings going up. So anyway, just for cloud play fun. But it is strange as a shape. What the heck is this thing? That's no cloud. Look at this sharp line coming down to a point. Your guess is good as mine is what's going on. Look at all this rippling going on too. It really is like a water effect. Really, really weird. These look like holes up here. Look at this really fine detail of ripples. So as I say in other shows, to me, when it's bigger, exaggerated ripples, to me that's a craft or multiple craft in the area, and that's a byproduct of their energy source. So it's like electromagnetic waves radiating off of this thing or emanating out of this thing, or it's done intentionally as a cloaking method, to disturb the atmosphere. Anyway, beyond down below, we've got another weird blurred effect of something cloaking down here. So I took the color out to see if we could see this thing in a different way, zoomed in. What the heck is this? Look at all the detail. Again, fine ripple work. And then what the heck is going down here at the E.2? I'm going to just chalk this one up as a huge mystery. If you have any fun ideas of what this thing could be, feel free to put them in the comment section below. Okay, then I brightened this up a bit just to see what's going on here in the middle. So again, just all kinds of weird stuff. I just have to leave it at that for now. All right, this one I'm not going to spend too much time on. Just weird oddities, standalone things happening in the sky looking northeast. So with enhancement, we see that there starts to be a little more structure happening in here, but still not quite enough for me to say exactly what's going on. But I know that's not natural in the sky. And then here we're zooming in on that one piece where we have, again, looks like openings. These now look like, let's say 1, 2, 3, like pentagons in shape. Really weird. See what you see. Again, two holes here. They look like pipes or like little horns, coming off of here. All right, now we're looking at a panorama. Down below is the original and above is the enhanced. It is a little blurry and fuzzy just because my camera could not focus because the sky was already going dimmer and there was a lot of particulate in the sky. But when we look at the enhanced version, we can see enough that, look at this weird element at A, and then something changes direction and dives down at B, and then they each kind of have their own little, force field of color around them. I don't know what the heck this thing is doing up here. This looks like a craft that's just ejected out of this overall mass. Anyway, why is this all red down here and nothing else is except over here? It's just all very bizarre. I just wanted to highlight how strange this whole collection was. It really felt weird too. And when you look at B down here, this is extremely low in the horizon. And it's like more and more I'm seeing these vertical columns shoot up and then they become a little more horizontal, trying to look like clouds. But it has a very artificial feel and consistency to the particulate that's there. So I'm calling them artificial cloud in quotes. Okay, this one I featured in another standalone show previously, so I'm just including it because I wanted to see if I could get in anything else in this scene. But I did do a whole show dedicated to this, so I'm only going to put this one slide in. But this was just when I was in a parking lot. I looked up to the west, and all of this cloud was not only really low, everything just felt so strange. And then on top of it, this really was self-illuminating and really low in the sky, this patch. So I looked to the right here, and it just tried to highlight it in a different way. And we see that there's some kind of brighter object standalone right here, and another object shooting up out of it at 8.1. And it almost even looks like it's having some kind of sky beam connection down here to this light source, this light pole. But anyway, see what you see in that scene. And then we're going to zoom in. I'm going to go back one. Okay, so if you just look at the right-hand side, I'm going to work the enhancement so that we only get at the essence of what's going on at the core of this overall thing. And that's what I get down here at C.2. So it's either a trio of separate objects, or it's just like two with like a little bridge across, hard to say. But it still looks like something's ejecting off of it, really weird. And then we go to the upper left, and again, we have some kind of energy mass and another piece of it shooting off this way, and something shooting off this way. So especially when I see something like C.2, this is like a challenge for Sugar Seas out there, and I invite you to go check out Sugar Seas' YouTube channel once again, because her latest work is really incredible, too, over at a sacred site, what was going on above it. But anyway, we've got this weird little thing, standalone, but like shooting off of this thing. Really, really weird. And these are just the lights in the parking lot, over here. All right. We're going to zoom in one more time. So that's why I said I didn't know if this was a trio or just one object with a little bridge connector. See what you think. Again, I see a little end of a pipe here. So I think, again, that's like a source of shooting out some of this cloaking material. See what you think. Okay, now the left on this is the original, the right's the enhancement. This is now, we finally crossed over into December 2022. This is looking east in the afternoon. And what caught my attention was just how between B and C, how this overall mass is just so linear and horizontal, and it's like coming out of this other thing. So I look to the right, you can see why this is what I was sensing was odd. Look at this, it angles out of this, what's supposed to be a cloud, but that really is not a cloud. You can tell it's artificial material trying to look like a cloud. It's not a true cumulus cloud. The edges are strange, the consistency is weird, the way it formed is strange, the way it moved was strange. Anyway, but we can see it now, because look at the color signatures show there's something going on in here. Maybe even a triangular form is here. And then how do you get a completely different color signature when all of this is supposed to be kind of riding together at the same level, in altitude in the sky, which happens to, once again, be extremely, insanely low. So now we just see different levels or densities of this cloaking material, kind of waving in and out over this thing. What is it? I don't know, but it's not a natural cloud. And look down at D over here on the left and D.1 over here. Again, we got some kind of object cloaking with this plasma material kind of wafting. I say wafting over it. And then I didn't even look at it before, but down here we have also like a reddish object. Looks like it has a vapor trail below it. So I'm going to say this is all cloaking craft riding in the sky, trying to pretend to be clouds. All right, now this is a nighttime scene at 7:30, December 5th, and looking southwest. So my camera kind of, has like a little night vision feature, so that's it over here. So what I started to see was a triangular form over here where my cursor is above B, and another one over here at C, and parallel, lines to each other. So when I did some enhancement, this is what started coming forward, and it was just acting really strange because we've got this object, this bluer hue compared to the green around it, and like this looks like a stick-like element over at B.1, something else kind of stick-like or pipe-like at the end here, something really weird happening here over at A.1, something yet again different happening at the bottom at the perimeter at D.1. So I'm going to zoom in just on the AB element, because what I found was, okay, at B.2, here's like that stick-like thing coming this way, and this is kind of, rounded element here. And what is this thing? It's symmetrical, whatever it is. And then over here, what's going on? It was just a really bizarre scene. So to me, this is absolutely an object that has cloaking material, on top of it, and it's just tucked in there, hiding pretty well. Okay, this now is looking south out of a parking lot in Miami, looking to the south from a huge parking lot. Now, we're going to look at this in a couple of ways, because we have a really bright white spot up here at A, and then we have different things that are happening down in the body of this thing. So for now, I just did enough enhancement to see what's going on with the lower portion of the scene, and we see different color signatures popping up to show there's some kind of objects happening in there. Something very different's happening at A and B above. So when I enhance it in a different way, and I'll go back one. So remember, this enhancement was to get at what's going on down here in the lower half, and this enhancement now is to get at what's going on up here at A. And it's a little more telling what's going on up here, all this weird stuff happening over here. But look at that, we get this really bright form, has a stick, you know, like a bar coming out, one over here too, with looks like symmetrical pieces, like we're looking at this thing on angle. This is a perfect 1, 2, 3, again, a perfect elongated pentagonal form with a stick and a stick symmetrical, with a symmetrical bulbous kind of thing on each side. So if I had to guess, I would say that we're looking at a craft that's kind of sits more upright with these two arms. Like these aren't wings, but whatever, balancing elements or pods at the ends. And this would be a massive vapor trail, you know, coming behind it. That's what I see. See what you see, though. All right, same parking lot, but turning the view to the north. And this I did include in another shorts as well. But what I was able to pull out from the laptop style of looking at this was very different from what was captured in the shorts. So now I'm going to go back one. I knew something was going on at A, and I knew something was going on at B. But here we go. With this enhancement, we can see a little bit more. What the heck is this thing at 8.1? And look at two radically different color signatures, even though these things are very close to each other. And look at, we have like a spear-like thing with a hole in it at the top. I think that's a cloak and craft zooming off this way. We have a pipe this way. We have a triangular form springing off of this thing. We have a pipe with a hole, you know, again, more holes at the end of pipes all over the place on this thing. And then this too looks like a huge pipe, like exhaust pipe. What the heck is going on? I'm calling them each cloak and crafter objects, but see what you see. We zoom in, and now it looks even stranger. So here's that hole. It looked like the end of a pipe. Now look at this. We have a stick, and then, you know, curved, perfectly curved form looks symmetrical here at wherever this thing is, this triangular thing at the point of it. We see a point here. We start to see more parts and pieces emerge. This is actually part of a bigger bar coming across, and that's perpendicular, this element. So again, you don't have perpendicular elements and then doglegging back again perpendicular in natural cloud systems. This is far too much structure just to be that. So I'm calling this cloak and crafter object. And look down here, we have a little stick and an object again coming back perpendicular to it. So see what you see in this scene. It is really bizarre. All right, this is bizarre too, looking east at 10:30 in the morning. Excuse me, it looks like a perfect little cotton ball, just low in the sky, doing its own thing with something ejecting off the top. So that's all I'm going to say about this one. Just strange. Hold on one second. Okay, more strangeness. This one was also covered in a YouTube Shorts. I picked a fun version of the song You Dropped a Bomb on Me. But anyway, this was a triangle in the sky, on angle, and extremely low in the sky. Other stuff was suspected to be happening up here above. And so in the shorts, I captured very different things than what's showing up here on my laptop version of editing, not editing, but, you know, enhancing things to pull things out. So look at this. This is a tube with a hole at the end. Maybe this thing even shot out of it, hard to say. These were stick-like things were more prominent in my YouTube Shorts on one of the views. But again, this looks like the end of a tube that's sticking out this way with some stuff kind of flowing out of it. More little pipe pieces, you know, we're looking at weird triangular forms. You know, this is sitting across this way. So I think that's a craft or an object. That's a standalone craft or object. And something else happening up here at A. So see what you see in that scene. But regardless, E.1 is a very rigid triangle with parts and pieces on it attached. It's very, very bizarre. Okay, now we're zooming in on this triangle as it's kind of disintegrating, kind of falling apart a bit. And look at this. This is a rigid object that banks up 90-degree angle. Bam. So what the heck is that? I don't know. but it's enough to tell me it's a cloaking object, cloaking craft. And then we look at this down at D.1. It's an elongated or dart shape with two sticks. Look at these, they're pure sticks coming off what I'm going to say the back side of this thing. It's got to be a craft. And that's got to be a craft here, an elongated triangular form, maybe, flying back into this thing. So it's really, really strange. We've got holes up here too. That looks like another triangular form. Just really, really weird. Okay, this is looking south and 7:10 in the morning. And what caught my attention were these points, these very rigid shapes like triangular in the void, triangular form cut out. So with enhancement, voila, I'll go back one. That's what you see. And now here's what you can really see. So, we have, looks like a standalone object here stacked on top of another one, on top of another bigger, darker form here. And look at C.1. It's a triangle dropping down or otherwise tethered, or docked to the bottom of this bigger thing. So it looks like we're dealing with a lot of craft kind of gliding in together, cloaking, in bigger cloaking material. And again, incredibly low in the sky in altitude. Okay, now we're still looking 7:10 in the morning. This time we're looking to the southwest. And here's, actually, sorry, this must be a different time. No, this is toward the afternoon. Pardon the error here. I got to update the bottom. But anyway, this is in the afternoon. Scratch the 7:10 part, but it is looking southwest. Anyway, we've got what looks like a very artificial glaring white sun, which, yes, I'm calling it artificial. I'm calling it a solar simulator with a ton of particulate hiding the original sun beyond it. Have a look at all of that and other shows that I've done and other Earth and Sky watching channels all over the world. But look at this at A. This is diving down. All of these are diving down. These are chemical filled trails or camouflage trails. Chemical filled goes without saying. I'm also saying it could be camouflage trail, meaning non-toxins, just kind of a smoke and mirror effect. Hard to say. I don't have equipment to measure it of what might be going on in there. However, I'm just saying no plane would dive down, this low into the sky to just make if it were a condensation trail, so you can just take that off the table immediately. It is not a condensation trail. It's a chemical-filled trail or just some other kind of camouflage trail to hide what's going on with this artificial sun and what that is trying to hide beyond it. So do look at my description box below to see what could be causing kind of a reddish appearance in the sky and why sun tech such as a solar simulator is being employed to cover up what might be entering the Earth's atmosphere these days. All right, we're going to move on here. So with the enhanced version, just see a lot of strange things going on. Again, this trail coming down seems to be hiding some type of gap going on. There are other views of this that are easier to tell than here, so I'm going to keep moving on. Now, B.1, we have a cutout here of a triangular form. It's dark, but we have something really weird popping out of it, so we're going to take an extra look at that. We're going to zoom in on that weird little, look at this. It's rigid, it's got structure to it, there's kind of an elongated hole, and it seems like it's coming out of this triangular, I don't know, is it some kind of portal? Is it like a dark hole there, but in a triangular form? What's going on? Or is this darker triangle tech, or craft that's just looking opaque, dark? Hard to say if it's a void or if it's an object. But what's easy to say is this is not a natural element in any kind of natural organic cloud material. We have a hint at a triangular form here where my cursor is. Look at the different color signatures, between everything. Just a lot of strange stuff's going on in that scene. See what you see. We're zooming in a little bit more on that weird element. Couldn't get it too much more other than there's some strange holes in this thing. Don't know what it is. See what you think. All right, now we're looking west toward the evening. A lot of weird activity, a lot of disturbances, but what caught my attention was C. It's a perfect inverted V or triangular form with enhancement. I'd rather spend my time looking at the enhancement because here we see E.1 looks like a perfect pointed elliptical form. We have a darker piece here which shows that's at the core of this overall form. So yes, I'm calling E.1 a cloaking craft. Then we have C.1 is, look at that. It's like a perfect tracing of an elongated outline of an elongated triangle. I'm not sure what this other coloration is, where it's kind of a lime green, chartreuse green, but just a lot of strangeness is going on in this overall scene. See what you think is happening. I think absolutely there's something cloaked here behind B.1 as well. It's a weird shape, and there's something looks like it's sticking out of the back of it. All right, we're looking west at 5 p.m. and just interesting color signatures. We're looking at the shape of this thing. Also, it looks like stacked forms. So like these are maybe cloaking craft, one above the other, just kind of sailing along, and a whole sea of really dense particulate, so you can't see what's going on. And why do we have this magenta glow at the bottom here? And then we have indigos and whiteouts. It's just really bizarre, the whole scene. All right, now we're switching. Actually, this is looking east, not northwest. Okay, but it's toward 5 o'clock. That part it is. So what caught my attention here is this. Look at this whiteout, this like outline effect over this distinct object. So, and we got weird stuff going on all over the place. Again, it's kind of blurry, kind of fuzzy to the naked eye. So we look to the right, and we really see this choppy staccato blur out effect going on, because the tree is crisp and fine and clear. It's just the sky is a mess. So what caught my attention was this kind of triangular form, this stick coming out, and then this little object. So this stick-like form could just be a vapor trail bridging between this object and whatever this peak is here. But this looks like an overall bigger triangular form with something flying off of it. Definitely something weird going on over here at 8.1. I'm going to move on, but the overall scene was just strange, and it's a little too blurry to pull things out. But it's just enough to see that we have some triangular forms, some things behaving in weird ways that aren't cloud. This too, look at this. Clouds don't do this. We've got, like jigsaw puzzle effect, like that would plug into that, these breaks in the so-called clouds. We have movement coming up this way and then backing off that way, while this is arching over, and this is also concentric curved, moving outward. It's all too perfect and just screams not organic natural cloud blowing over. And so here we go. This is why, because with some enhancement we can see look at this dark point here. This is part of a bigger, longer linear element with looks like again like a kind of a piped opening at the end of a pipe here. Just really strange, the overall collection. There would be no way a natural cloud would move like a curve across the top. With this happening, within it, there's no way natural cloud could even form that way. So we're talking something engineered, and it's really low in the sky, and it wasn't even windy that day. And this is tropical, subtropical climate. So you're not going to achieve those kinds of long arced bands in this climate. All right, now we're looking at the bottom is the original, the top is the enhanced version. This is looking northwest, actually southwest to the left, to northwest to the right. It's kind of a little bit of a distorted panorama, but we see an element over here at B and one over at A, and they're really different from each other. So we look at the color signatures up here. I'm not going to really spend a lot of time on this one, other than just something's behaving really weird here. So I'm going to call this cloaking craft, cloaking object over here as well, and maybe something even much bigger happening beyond. Okay, now we're looking south at 5:45 p.m. And this just had also a very strange feel to it. I did also do a YouTube Shorts where we can clearly see a triangular form, other way around. Triangular form is late. Triangular form down here at D, and a rectilinear form at A, and also a spherical form over at B. And this is just to, show a little bit more than what was on the YouTube Shorts. But I invite you to go check the shorts out as well, because that one I zoom out more so you see all these, rectilinear shapes and pure triangles sitting there. So the overall scene's really strange. As you can see, it's very choppy and fuzzy, very blurred out, while the tree is crisp. And again, that's the blurred out effect. That's, I believe, a deliberate cloaking technique to fill the sky with a bunch of craft and hide them by generating out frequencies to make everything choppy and fuzzy. Here we see the point of something here at C.1, and and the outline of something that looks like a rectangle laying flat over here. So this is one of those things, the more you look, the more you're going to find. Have fun looking. Okay, this is another scene looking southwest, in the morning, and just look at this weird interplay of cloud and question mark types, floating around. So we look to the right hand side, and we see this really looks like a darker object happening up here at 8.1. And then look at this. It's like a pointed elliptical form over here at B.1. And then what is this thing like riding up? Looks like a wisp-like form. But then we have a perfect little capsule form up over here with a little vapor trail behind it. See what you see. And the E.1 is just really bizarre because here we're looking really low in the sky, and it's like shooting a little column, and it levels out into like an elliptical form. That's no natural cloud. All right, we're going to come at the 8.1 up here in the upper right. We're going to look at that a little closer, blowing it out a little bit, and just to try to see if we can capture anything more here by playing around with some of the enhancements. And again, this should be gone. It should say original. It's just enhanced version over here. But anyway, we have this weird tube-like thing moving up. Looks like we have some plasma wafting or wafting over it, and different color signatures showing something else is going on over here at the tip of this thing. Anyway, it's really, really weird. We have like the back end of a triangular form with a straight line here and straight line here going on. Something maybe flying out of it. Really, really bizarre what's happening here. All right, now this is still in the morning. We're looking, I think, a little more toward the northwest on this one. And look at this. I'm going to back up one. So what caught my attention was, this is actually northeast. So look at the different movements of what looks more like wisp or elemental type cloud, quote unquote, but they're moving this way, and then this is moving again almost in a near perpendicular direction. These things are. So you can't have a normal cloud system that would just presumably be blowing across this low in the sky in a subtropical to tropical climate and just have all this different movement in it if there weren't unnatural things happening in the sky, let's just say. And we have a perfect line here. We're going to take a look at this whole element in a bit. But here we go. Look at the different color signatures as well. This is all side by side. They shouldn't be totally different colors, especially not so low overhead. So look at this. It almost looks like something is flying up out of here, and that's the little trail left behind. Same thing shooting off of here. What the heck are all of these things? And this looks like a little pipe with a hole at the end of it again. Looks a little H shape. Really, really strange. What do you think's happening here? I think this is one type of organic sky element, flowing down. Maybe another one flowing up. But then here we have a perfect triangular form. This one has me mystified. See what you see here. All right, now we're going to go back to this G element. And again, just in your mind, eliminate original photo. Obviously, this is enhanced. But we're going to go to G.1 and take a closer look. See if we see anything in here. It's a little hard to see. We look at G.3, where I just really extreme enhanced it. And we just see there are little, square-like elements comprising rectangular elements in here. Can't provide any answers on this, just pointing out more strangeness happening there. All right, then we're looking to the northeast in the morning, and we get this weird display. We'll just spend time on the right-hand side in the enhanced version. Look at this intricacy, this like spiral, how it's moving through. And then over here, it gets real interesting. I didn't even notice this until just now. I think there's a huge disk hiding in here at D.1. I'm just seeing it now. This looks like the outer ring. Then look at, there's another ring and an actual circle here. So you know what? I think we're looking at the top of a disk that's on angle. That's pretty wild. And it's got radiating patterning coming in here. See if you can see what I'm seeing. You might have to pull it up on a bigger screen. But there's a hole, there's a ring. This is some type of big disc on angle. I'm just seeing it now. It's pretty remarkable. All right, now we're going to look west-northwest toward the afternoon. And this I also featured in the shorts. The overall photo is a little blurry or foggy because I think it was just so humid. But what's strange is we've got B moving down at this angle and E moving at a totally different angle. Again, this is springing seemingly from right above. It's not even horizon. It's like almost like right overhead. Again, the atmosphere, cloud behavior of the past would never be this low and do that. So that points to it being artificially created. So here we go, two opposing angles right next to each other would not happen in a normal sky. And And then it looks like we have a huge triangular form happening over here. And then what's this dark area at D.1? Looks like a triangle's hiding in there as well. See what you see. All right, left's the original, the right's the enhanced version. Just looked and felt weird how all of this stuff was just sitting so low in the sky, almost like frozen in time. We look to the right, and I see a clear object over here at 8.1. You know, it gets real solid. And solid B over here, looks more like a triangular form on angle. See what you see in this overall scene? Okay, this is really strange because this was like the edge, the tip of a shovel with the, you know, part of the metal part that you would then attach the pole to. The shovel head, I guess you would call it. And then look at, we've got these parallel lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, more or less parallel. So that caught my attention right away with this little egg-shaped thing flying next to it. So we look to the right at the enhanced version. I see a hole here. Looks like a little canister with some sticks radiating out of it. So there's some type of craft here. Oh, and look at, there's the outer perimeter of this thing. So this looks like a disc on an angle. So again, that looks like a disc-like craft. And that would be the top or the bottom where the hole is with spokes radiating out of it. We have this thing diving down. And then we have this, you know, shovel head shaped thing. Or a couple different forms, you know, linking up together to make it look like that. But what the heck? It's just such a bizarre scene. Again, take out my little extraneous E.1 there. It doesn't belong there. Then we've got up here too, something darker. It's all being camouflaged by weird artificial cloud patterning. And again, the weird effect, I believe, is because we've got a bigger craft beyond that's sending out these waves. It's nothing like HARP's like on a more massive scale. This is very local, I feel, and being generated by individual craft above. We're zooming in on that little weird shape, and I'm going to look at detail again. Look at the right now. Looks like we have a perfect hole sitting right there. Maybe two of them. Look at that over here. We really see it here. And then we've got a hole over here. Looks like the end of a pipe here and here as well. So this looks like it's layered upon layered upon layered with weird little cloaking craft. This thing now looks like it's something shooting out of here with a hole at the end of it as well. See what you see? All right, this was featured, I think I just put this on the community page on my channel. Again, we have a nighttime view. I could make out this triangular form to the naked eye at night, and I saw a void outline of another one here. So with enhancement, it becomes clearer. I went ahead and just sketch outlined, you know, where I saw some of these things. And it looks like there's a pipe here too, you know, the end of a pipe right in there. See what you see. All right, now this got interesting. This is looking down the street in Miami. And I talked with the people who own the property, and this ring was never there before. It appeared from one night to the next. So to the right-hand side, you see it even better. Now, I know there are things called fairy rings, which just do pop up overnight. There might be a ring like this, a darker ring in the grass, or it might be a ring of mushrooms or something like that. It's a weird little phenomenon. I know that none of these have occurred in the area before. So is it a quote-unquote fairy ring? The explanation of those isn't very convincing when you look at the phenomenon here. Or did maybe perhaps some kind of craft land there and leave some kind of mark? I don't know. See what you think. I'm at a loss on that one, other than it's really strange. It was a ring, pretty perfectly formed. All right, now we're going to look at the west, and this just had its own color. It just felt very fiery and pink, even though it's in the same altitude with everything else around it. It doesn't have that color. It's like it had its standalone color. And we look at the right-hand side of the enhanced version, and we just see it's really intense here, you know, in and with its own color. And now the magenta wafting or wafting over it, you know, looks like it is just cloak and craft, with that being the cloaking part. Not sure why C.1 then becomes really dark and everything around it does. You know, this is just another one of those really bizarre things. It looks like we have maybe a triangle here, an angle, you know, docking up into whatever this is. See what you see in that scene. All right, this one is a little fuzzy, but we can make some things out of it with the enhanced version. And we just see, again, this, if you follow my cursor at C.1, we see a perfect curve. Now, if you follow my cursor all the way around, I'm just seeing it now once again, that looks to me like a disc on an angle. So that would be the top or the bottom of a craft, disc-shaped craft is what I see. I don't know what this thing at B.1 is, but it's got straight edges. It's a weird form overall. I think that's a cloaking object as well. Look at, we got movement going this way, but then we have movement going this way. That would not occur in a natural cloud system. So I'm just going to say this thing is riddled with different cloaking craft. And as I always say, I do these shows, running them, narrating them on a laptop screen size and scale. And if I had a little handheld device and was just looking at this show, looking at the images while I edit them, when they're like really postage stamp size images, I would be narrating a totally different show of what I would be seeing. So I like to have the handheld camera in front of me and a big screen and just kind of toggle the view up and down to get the best result to see what's going on. But unfortunately, I can't do that right now. I'm just doing this strictly off of a laptop. So see what you can see on whatever size scale screen you're looking at right now. But this element right here, I think, is the feature of the moment. And, this looks like a very cylinder shape as well right in front of it. Okay, on the left-hand side, again, it's another nighttime view, 7:30 in the evening looking southwest. We have what's supposed to be the moon popping up through here. But this is just looking and feeling really strange. So we look to the right-hand side, and this is why. Look at, these are like eyeglasses, like sunglasses with the, little arms, going back like goggles on some kind of being. But anyway, I'm not really going to talk about this because I'm stumped. It looks like there's a bigger form. There's a hole, another end of a pipe here, something poking out here. So I think this is one bigger, like triangular craft with stuff sitting alongside it, but I can't really tell for sure. See what you see in that scene. Also note the color signatures going on. All right, another nighttime view, and just detect weird stuff happening up here. So on the right's the enhanced version. Oh, and also weird cloud. Really what caught my attention was how strange this was. This is looking east-northeast after 7:30 p.m. And look how skinny this thing comes up to, like a bulbous shape. But then this goes off doing its own thing. Did not behave like a natural cloud. And then on top of it, this was acting weird above. So we look to the right and look at just below 8.1. That's the end of a pipe. It's a clear, perfect ring. It's like taking a pipe and looking at the end of it. That's it. So it looks like there's another one back here that could tease off into a Y shape. Anyway, there's an object back in there. Absolutely, for sure. And it has a slightly different color signature than everything going on down here. A lot of weird things going on in that scene. Now we're going to zoom in, on the top part, because in this level of enhancement, we were just trying to get at what's going on in here. But now we'll flip it to see what's going on at the top. And I can't really see too much because of all of the cloaking effect. It's pretty heavy particulate. But we look at the end here, and it looks like there might be more than meets the eye being, cloaked under this mass. All right, now we're looking south, and the overall picture is a little hazy because of the humidity, I think, on the lens, but we still can pull out enough to see the different color signatures. Now, this is looking south toward, the end of sunset. So sunset would be happening off to the right. Well, what's strange is we get a white glare out where it should be golden, orange, and reddish. But no, it's pure white. But then we have all this red and magenta to the pure south and toward the east where it shouldn't be. So that was intriguing. See what you see in that scene. And then we're going to come and just look down at this piece at C.1. And we have like a diamond-shaped thing. We have weird stuff going on here. Here you can see it a little bit better. And then we'll zoom in on it a little more. Look at these weird little stick-like things. And that looks like a perfect little stick with a triangular form at the end of it. This goes up one way with a sharp angle, straight edge, another straight edge, looks very symmetrical. What the heck is this thing? I think it's all part of a bigger cloaking craft going on down here. And there you can just see a little bit more. Let's see what's going on here. And again, this one gets interesting because not only is something really strange happening down here, look at the different color signature, but when I go back one, look here at A, okay? Once again, this looks like, if you follow my cursor, a disc that this time it's sitting up a little more upright, where this would be the top of it. So to me it looks like a perfect disc-like shape and a perfect cloaking craft. Not sure if you can see it with me, but that's what I'm seeing. And then I think this is also another craft over here and another overall craft happening over here. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. It's an area of old growth, pre-1920s, of tropical vegetation in Miami, Florida. The reflection is coming up off of like a little cypress pond. And so it just gives you an idea of some of the taller growth and the way things would have looked in native natural Florida, South Florida. Anyway, I want to say thank you for standing by here a while, and especially for your patience if you made it through this entire show. I have no idea what the running time on it is. I'm just happy to now have officially caught up with the photos through the end of December. So I hope you enjoyed it. I wish you all the best. Tremendous peace and love to you. And once again, thanks and shout out to EK in Tennessee. All the best to all of you. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.